Hey, everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on themikewagnershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, over 25 podcast platforms. Take The Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to The Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow The Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful host of movie reviews and more. He is very popular on the YouTube, and he does it from his studios on the West Coast. He's a producer, also a radio host, DJ, promoter, and talks a lot about movies. And his show had 6 million views and counting, and 80 million overall, so 6 million views a day. So figure that. His podcast, by the way, Brian Sebastian, also on the movie thing, top 50 podcasts in New York and LA Weekly Times. That has to be an honor. Also with the Art of Montique, chief entertainment correspondent. And he loves drum and bugle corps, and he'll just get you drumming here. And he also supports gender and cultural diversity, and just has a very unique mix. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plush Studios, somewhere on the West Coast, ladies and gentlemen, the host of movie reviews and more, the ever fantastic Brian Sebastian. Brian, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, I have to say congratulations to you, because you ended up on that list too, Mike.
Thank you very much. I mean, I didn't expect a podcast to have it where you have two of the hosts that made the top 50. And I mean, when I looked at that list on Facebook, I was getting ready to go to bed at 10:30, and here I am just getting ready to wrap up. And then all of a sudden, I get this link. It says top 50 podcasts in New York and LA Weekly Times. So I look it up, and I looked that my name was on there. I'm like, I did not expect this. I did not expect any rankings. I expect a thing. I could not sleep that night. I'll be quite honest with you. So it is a great honor, and congratulations to you as well, too, making the list. I mean, you have done a fantastic job with your show, I got to say.
Well, you don't do it by yourself. When I created Movie Reviews and More in October of 1993, I always knew the more part was going to be important because of the times that we in. I didn't know that part back then, but I did know it as of 2 years ago now. And then what I have is 13 co-hosts. They're all women. Out of the 13, so 6, one is like Miss America, Miss Russia USA, the first African-American, Miss North Carolina, Miss Brazil, runner-up USA. And then I have one other one. I can't remember who she is right now. And then out of the usual girls, we have 6 out of the 10, actually out of the 13 that are in the world of fitness. So bikini models, body figure, all of that. So I have a great team of women, and we all like each other, and we all get along. Our issue is that we just can't see each other. Mm-hmm. We used to see each other at like gifting suites in Los Angeles, where celebrities go, and then the brand or the company would give you gifts. We would all get together. We'd do a show there, and that's the only time we could all get together. And now that we have our new studio out of Los Angeles, we could do that every Tuesday live at 11 a.m. And then if we go to Tennessee, we have our own numbers. We have 3.8 million views out of there and counting a day just out of Tennessee alone. And then so it's good to be able, it could go on the road. So when I go to Chicago, I want to definitely see if I can get you to come to see my other co-host, Linda Steele, out of Chicago. Katie O'Reilly's Food Carnival. That we have our shows on the Worldwide TV Network, which was formerly the Women's Broadcast TV Network and WomenITV.tv. So when I do go there, I'm going to make sure that you come and join us, Mike.
I definitely will. And I don't know when I'll be able to go to Chicago because of the pandemic. But as soon as you get
where are you right now?
What's that?
Where are you now?
I'm actually outside Bismarck, North Dakota. But if you do get a chance to come to Bismarck, and you know something too, I'll be happy to take you out to the Badlands over in Western North Dakota. You got the Medora Musical, And then you also got some bully pulpit. If you guys are in the Gulf, you can all get to see the bison, the pheasants, and everything else. Just all kinds of beauty. And go further south in the Black Hills over by Rapid City in that area, you get to see Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, and you'll go out to Wyoming to see Devil's Tower, inspired by Close Encounters of the Third Kind, one of my other favorite movies. You get to see all kinds of beauty in the Dakotas. So if you guys come down there, otherwise, I'll be glad to come to Chicago and meet. Just tell me when. I'll pack my bags and I'll be there. So
well, it almost sounds like you have an easier time coming to Las Vegas or Los Angeles then.
Well, it's not too bad. I mean, you got a lot of planes flying from Bismarck to Las Vegas to Bismarck, and it's not just gambling, having fun, and going to see Celine Dion or Britney Spears every night in Vegas. It's also got family, friends, a good retirement community, and just a lot to do in Las Vegas. So I was in Las Vegas before, just on a special project, and I got to say this. I mean, it's very vibrant, and plus, there's very low humidity. It's good for my wife's asthma and arthritis. I mean, the climate is just excellent in Vegas. I got to say that. I love
it. So that's a good thing.
That is a good thing, yeah. And before we talk more about movie reviews and more, tell us how you first got started in the business.
Well, I started in market number 37. You as a radio guy, when you started, it was all about the markets you had to move up. So from 37, I know I didn't want to go to New York because I was in Connecticut. So I was thinking because I was in the Drum and Bugle Corps. So I wanted to go to Madison, Wisconsin. I was looking at that, but I didn't want to do the winters in Wisconsin because then it was cold. Now it's changed a little bit, but then I thought about going to Little Rock, Arkansas, because there was a station that was going to take me there. And then I didn't go. I didn't want to go to Florida because of hurricanes and tornadoes. So I was always thinking about climate, I guess, back then, now that I think about it. And then I took a trip to a drum corps show. We're in Colorado. And then I'm like, well, since I'm in Colorado, let me just go to California. Let me test that before I go back to Connecticut. So I ended up going to Anaheim. And then as soon as I landed, I'm like, there was just something that said, this is where I want to come. So I'll work my way up. I'll go to California, but I'll go to Northern California and then work my way down to the number 2 market, Los Angeles. Well, I never ended up getting to Northern California. I ended up staying in Los Angeles in the UCLA area, Westwood, Brentwood, which was a happening spot. And so while I was waiting, I was working for Power 106, which is a new radio station that was coming on. And it was the first time that I had seen an all multiracial crew. Usually all radio stations were all white. And so I would be like the only minority just wanting to break in unless you did all, R&B. So that wasn't me because of the way I grew up in East Lyme, Connecticut. I grew up in an all-white town of 7,000. So there was only 3 black families, if you can imagine that. So I learned a lot. So I knew classic rock, I knew R&B, and I was there when, if you remember Rapper's Delight coming out in 1979, I was there when Rapped it. So I was that I'm like, I better be the disc jockey in high school. Because what would that be strange if you're the black guy and you're not the disc jockey? So till this day, because we're still very close, our sophomore, junior, and high school kids, because we had a great popular band. We're really in the drum and bugle corps at that point, the activities in the band. When the band's more popular than your football team, you got something going on. So I was going cross country to be close to the Santa Clara Vanguard in Northern California, which is my favorite drum corps. But I never made it there, so I ended up at Power 106. And then at that time, smooth listening jazz called The Wave was coming in. Mm-hmm. In the middle of that, I was working for Tower Video. So Tower Video, remember the old VHS days? Everybody go to video stores? So every celebrity would come to Tower Video, Tower Classic Music, or Tower Records, which was across the street. And then walking 3 feet away was the Viper Room. This is before Johnny Depp owned it. Then you had, the next block down was the Whiskey A Go-Go, Gazzari's, and the Rainbow. So this is where hair was coming in at that point, heavy metal hair rock. So everybody from Vince Neil would come in. Adult performers would come in. Ron Jeremy would come in.
Gosh.
Prince would come in. Michael Jackson would come in. Everybody came in. I signed up, if you know the name William Broad, real name, Billy Idol. I signed him up for a membership. And Steven Seagal, this is when Steven Seagal was popular. But I was working at Power 106, so I was studying the home video craze of what was going on at that point. And you couldn't get more better than Los Angeles at that point on the Sunset Strip. So you had heavy rock, you had Power 106. This is the time where Johnny Carson was kind of like exiting, and then I just remember Chevy Chase, Arsenio Hall. They were all auditioning to be those nighttime hosts for Johnny Carson's replacement, and they weren't making it, So I'm like, if they can't make it and they're all successful, how am I going to go that way? So I said, let me focus on voiceovers and let me focus on starting to do like a public access show, which happened 4 years later. And then when music came in, Chicago house music came in, I saw the music changing and I didn't like it, but I was hearing different types of house music. And then at that same time, I was like, okay, it's better to go in and do voiceovers because I can get a grip on what's going on. You can see the platform of everything changing. And then October of 1993, that's when I discovered Movie Reviews and More. And because being in the home video world, video stores, everybody was coming in. These are the days when you had VHS tape or beta, and it took you 6 weeks to make your money back. And I learned from that format, and that format still works today, even though there's only one video store left, really, Blockbuster, which is in Oregon, and I believe there's one in Alaska. That's it. You might have one mom and pop here, cross country, maybe, or else they died out.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about the Blockbusters. I remember there was that one in Bend, Oregon, but I wasn't aware they had in Alaska. How do you feel about with the video, with the Redbox, and I think there's also Vudu, which is a Walmart, and like the similar Netflix. How you feel about those?
Everything is streaming now. You could see it from Disney Plus to Peacock, which is NBC, to think of this. It's all about brands. I saw all of this coming. So in 2008, I started to make the change. I had a ranch at that point, and we were bordering horses, but it was in the world of dressage. So we did more English, not Western. And I didn't know anything about that. And till this day, I know a lot about it now. So I never forgot that. And I think of this. Think of the series Yellowstone, one of the best series out of there, Not only is it filmed in Montana, but also in Utah. But it's a great series starring Kevin Costner. But it's one of those things where people are wanting to escape to off the grid. And then at the same time, you can see everything that's going on now. So for me, it's important to have the Dreamweaver Artist Ranch, the artofmontague.com, fresh air, because the climate is changing. Whether people believe it or not, you could see it. When we need more bees and not less, that's important. When we don't have enough trees, and California has 2 fire seasons, which is not normal. That's not good. When it's 90 degrees one day and it starts snowing the next, that's not normal either, And that could be cross country, and just things have changed. So I always tell people, if you can't adapt, be adapting and adjust to change, you won't survive this. Because now your life is not only on the line, plus your business if you have one. And I want to help those small businesses because I found a lot of great, good brands for smart technology, things that are environmentally sustainable. And for our ranch, the first test model for net zero.
Wow, that's amazing. You talk about the models, devices used to small businesses. What are some of the things that devices use to help small businesses nowadays, or save them?
Well, I have one like this is called this. It's called the Go Donut. And what it is, it's a spinner. And this lady created it. They would always be cooking, and you can put your phone on it like this. Or you could put it on like this. And it holds it so you don't drop your phone. And they made it out of a couple different types of makes and models. And I take it with me because we always need something to put our phone on. I like this, and then it spins around. You can put your name on it. I have my light unique LED products. I wanted something when I walked the red carpet that I could actually have a sign that said Movie Reviews and More, not my name. I wanted Movie Reviews and More so people would know what it is. Because a lot of times when you walk the red carpet, they scribble in on a pad or on a little chalkboard who you are. So it wasn't unique that I would be walking the red carpet or I'd be at an event. I would just set my unique LED products down lights, and it's cool. I like things like that.
It sounds amazing. And I thought about this whole Go Donut thing with the phone I have. I could be doing interviews with the phone as well, too, and using a laptop. And I didn't think about this, the Go Donut. And where can we find the Go Donut at?
You just go to godonut.com. Raymond is he's one of the founders of it. Joy, his partner, but his wife created it. I'm all about helping women when it comes to stuff because we're on the worldwide TV network, womenontv.tv, and it's about helping those women brands because there's a lot of great brands out of there, but not a lot of people know about them. So like the restroom kit, it's if you ever run to the porta potties, there's no thing to wipe your hands on. Well, you could take it traveling. So for kids that get messy, you got your own handy wipes in there, your own tushy whoops and stuff in there, but you take it with you. But it's all first responders because who needs them now? Policemen, firemen, hospitals because of COVID-19. I found them 4 years ago, and they've been very, very happy. And then I have another one called the Ellipto hand sanitizer. I've had them for 5 years. So it's the only one in the world that says it kills 99.99999% of germs.
Wow, 99.99.
99999. The
Now,
only one.
now is that I lost count of the nines? Is that 5 nines, 6 nines, or it's like how many nines there after the night?
Six nines now.
6 nines now. Okay, I thought I say let's make it like 9 nines to make it more authentic. So I love your ideas, and we'll talk more about that. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com. It's powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking a budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device, including the Go Donut. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the host of movie reviews and more, also producer, radio host, DJ, and promoter, and entrepreneurs. We have found out Brian Sebastian here on the Mike Wagner Show and a lover of the drum and bugle corps. And before we get back to some of your inventions, and well, first of all, this just kind of came to mind as well too. And how'd you first get involved with drum and bugle corps?
Oh, it's one of those things. If you remember, if you could ask your dad or uncle or great grandfather, VFW or American Legion, it came out of the military. So when a lot of them came back, think of going back to the Civil War. You remember the image of the fife and drum guy? There's 3 of them in the Civil War. Well, that was really the drum and fife. So drum and fife is really drum and bugle corps. It came out of the military. So you think of the Commander's Own, it's called the United States Military or Marine Corps Band. So there's 3 of them. They travel around the world representing the U.S. and they're just wonderful. But it really represents their flag. But it came out of the American Legion and the VFWs.
That is amazing. And of course,
So near you would be from Casper, Wyoming, the Casper Troopers, one of the winningest drum corps ever. So their themes was always the American West. They represented Wyoming. They did in 1968 or 1972. They played at the Denver halftime show, and their thing was the 7th Cavalry. That was their uniforms. So their theme was always how the West was won. Their thing was a Starbus representing Wyoming, their beautiful state of Wyoming. And I never forgot that because there was a guy named Jim Jones, who created it. And he was around right up until like the mid-90s. One owner going back to like 1958.
Wow. That is amazing. And of course, you had touched upon some of the drum and bugle corps and Casper, Wyoming, and where I went to school in suburban Chicago. Our high school, I think in 1980, was invited to perform at the Orange Bowl. I think it was halftime. I can't remember who played in 1980. It was the James B. Conant High School Marching Band that, I guess, out of like so many applicants or contestants, they won and got to play at the Orange Bowl. And I think that's the closest that I could think of, having something like that, drum and bugle corps. 1980, they went to Miami and played at the Orange Bowl. That is amazing.
So out of Chicago, you had the Park Ridge Cavaliers. At that point in the 60s, they were called Chicago Cavaliers. Don Warren was the director. And to my favorite colors was green and white. and they were really, really good. They still are good. All male corps, still the only corps that's an all male corps.
Really, that's amazing. And what are some of the current drum and bugle corps that's still taking place today? I mean, it seems like you don't hear too much about the drum and bugle corps. You hear all the music going on, EDM taking over, and drum and bugle corps. You mentioned who are now the new powerhouses in drum and bugle.
Well, it's always been Santa Clara Vanguard. Their claim to fame was always from Santa Clara, California, was always the bottle dance or Fiddler on a Roof. Chicago Cavaliers was always somewhere over the rainbow. Think about it from The Wizard of Oz. Casper Troopers was the Battle Hymn of Republic or anything Western theme. And they always represented the American flag, and they were always at the end, they would have a starburst. The Corps would just burst out like this, and people would just get up. But it represented, the American West and the good old USA. And then you have Phantom Regiment, which was out of Rockville, Illinois. So they weren't too far. They played all classical music. And I like that because that's how I learned all my music. And the kids love playing classical music. But the good thing and why I like Drum and Bugle Corps and why it's still important to me is the only activity in the world where you could travel within 6 weeks, 10 to 13,000 miles on coach buses or school buses, perform one night here and be in another town the next night. But you may be rehearsing for 8 to 10 hours a day.
Wow. That is amazing. I'm going to have to keep that in mind and get a lot of people interested in drum and bugle. And of course, I want to throw a little note too about you almost went to Madison and University of Wisconsin. I remember they did the chicken dance after every Badgers game. I think that was pretty funny.
When you think of Madison, Wisconsin was the Madison Scouts, another all-male corps. So this year would have been the first year that they would have gone co-ed.
Oh,
or
really?
else they were all male, and they were always like they were Boy Scouts. They wore the spats and everything, but they were just high flying. They had a great rifle line, everything. And the thing about them is, I was sad because it's the first time ever that there was no tour for the kids. So imagine all these kids; they had nothing to do for the summer, and for them, you can only march until you're 21. So you can be as young as 11 years old for the top 12, 15, 25 corps, and then you have a total of 71 corps. But back in the day, you might have had 400 corps, because at that point it was like your local high school band, because you were supported by a VFW, Catholic Youth Organization, CYO, like in Boston, Mass, and then the American Legion. Now you really don't have that anymore, and it's like one of those things. If you don't replace the older members with younger, the organization unfortunately will die out.
And how many drum and bugle corps are all female?
There used to be one left. They used to be the Cavaliers out of they were close to Racine, Wisconsin.
That was my old stomping grounds, Racine, Wisconsin.
Well, the thing about Wisconsin is Wisconsin had a bunch of great drum corps. They had the Blue Stars from La Crosse, Wisconsin. They were always red, white, and blue. But they were really good. But the Madison Scouts played a lot of jazz themes. So Malaguena. I remember 1977, they played the Star Wars theme. And they were always known for their horn line. They would come out with 70 horns. Now remember, your average age was between 16 and 18, but you aged out at 21. So imagine how loud those 70 horns sound. And these are kids, but they're rock stars in the summer. So I would travel cross country actually watching these kids. And then now to see how young they are is like, wow. But when you get to the lot, you may have anywhere from 300, 500 people in the lot watching the drum line rehearse.
Mm-hmm. And of course, since we're talking drum and bugle corps and, with the pandemic, is there like some kind of network or show or anything like that devoted to drum and bugle corps? And how can one keep up with it in today's times?
You would have to go to dci.org, or like the Madison Scouts have their own website, SantaClaraVanguard.com have their own website. And I'm going to be helping a lot of them, because it's up to us to help the small businesses and some of those corporations that need their help, because we're not done with this pandemic. This is like the end of the first stage. We're in fall right now, and there's flu season, whatever you may think of as whatever is real is not. No matter what, the earth is changing. I can see it when I'm traveling. I can see it when businesses are being cut. There aren't any movie theaters open in Los Angeles or in New York. That tells you something. So when I saw all this coming, I had to change our business mode around. And so this has been our best year. And I hate to say that during a pandemic, but again, we saw it coming. So October 3rd, 2018, I started changing things around. August 4th, 2018, we did our first shows out of Tennessee. And I started to see the numbers out of there. And that's, October 3rd, which is coming this week, officially be 2 years when I started doing all this stuff and changing everything around. It seems longer because I do it every day.
And you're doing a really good job of it. We'll talk about movie reviews and more. But first, listen to the Mike Whitener Show at themikewhitenershow.com. It's powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking a budget, Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Whitener Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Whitener Show can be heard on themikewhitenershow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Whitener Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Whitener Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Whitener Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Whitener Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the host of Movie Reviews and More, Brian Sebastian, here on the Mike Whitener Show. He's also producer, radio host, DJ, promoter, and a very avid drum and bugle corps fan. We talked a great deal about it and learned and refreshed as well, too. And as he once said it, if you see someone with a smile, please give them one of yours because the world needs it. And we're here to talk about movie reviews and more. And of course, his top 50, his podcast made the top 50 in the New York and LA Weekly Times. And let's talk more about movie reviews and more. And just a recap on how he got started, and also, some of the highlights and some of the challenges, and talk more about the program.
Well, it's one of those things where you can ask me about things, and just like a name will pop up. It's almost like I'm mentioning states and towns and states, and all of a sudden something comes back to your memory, which it makes a great conversation, because you might not have known about a drum corps, but drum corps is steroids as above a marching band, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly, and just popped up, and I thought, wow, I haven't seen one of those in ages, and maybe we can make it a big comeback and make it fashionable again, almost like replacing maybe EDM one day. Who knows?
Well, there's been a thing. If you think of Blue Man Group from Las Vegas, they came out of drum corps. That's how they started.
Really? I did not know that. And what else came from drum and bugle corps? Starting Blue Man Group and other ventures. What are
so
should
if you see a lot of the bands now for football games, if you think of Niner Noise, where they're all drumming, they're all from the Blue Devils from Concord, California. San Jose Sharks, Santa Clara Vanguard. A lot of drum corps drummers do a lot of things for football now. And then on the sports side, we have an organization that we do called Sportamix. So Sportamix.com is the sports, everything sports around the world of the Facebook. It could be cricket out of India. It could be territory soccer rugby out of the Ukraine, Russia. It could be jiu-jitsu out of Brazil. So Terry Marie, myself, and 3 of the other co-hosts that we have, we do all the stuff when it comes to Sportamix.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you and your host of Movie Reviews and More, you're not just doing the podcast Movie Reviews and More, you're just doing other things.
We are a multimedia organization that specializes in brand content and social media.
Wow, that is amazing. And you also had interviewed, I guess, according to the list, you had like 3, 5, 10,000 guests you had on, and many, many more. And it's just a mix of just about everything. And who would you say some of the best guests you've had?
Well, we're at 80,000 interviews right now,
wow.
Which is good. Yeah, because I did 2 shows today. I have 2 tomorrow. I'll do 3. I mean, they add up. So this is week number 27, Mike. We started April 2nd. Put that together. This is week number 27. So we were able to get over 1.2 million views on our YouTube. We were at 73,000 views within 3 to 5 hours, because I keep track because the numbers change so much. And I've never worked my YouTube so hard in my life at all. It was not easy, because, as you know, the algorithms for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube have all changed many times. So all those influencers who had followers, well, they may have some followers still left, but they're really not doing anything because they didn't see the changes coming. So for me, we've been able to overtake them because I always tell people, I don't have followers. I don't really have followers because you're going to unfollow someone. I don't go by subscribers because you can always unsubscribe. You ever seen that? And then I don't go by the likes because you can't track the likes. But it's always about the views because you can't unview or view.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you had the ability as well, too, to connect with the diversity, culture, audience, and everything like that. And that's what makes it successful. And what is the other elements that make your movie reviews and much more special?
To be able to help those mom and pop businesses get through because they may be here today and gone tomorrow, literally. And that's very sad of where we are. And a lot of these people, well, brick and mortar, if you think of Sears, you think of Macy's, Brooks Brothers, those companies are filed for Chapter 11. A lot of them are going out of business, and that's very sad. They've been around for years, decades. They didn't survive it. Think of the average mall. Malls are a dying breed. Even movie theaters, live venues, they're not what they were. So I keep telling everybody everything's got to be done outside now for a while. Whether there's a vaccine between now and the end of next year, that doesn't mean it'll work on everybody because they've not cured cancer yet. They haven't cured, cure for the flu. HIV, hepatitis has not been, cured. So you think you're going to have a vaccine for COVID-19, which will be around for the next 5 years still? It's not going to happen.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And of course, with the movie reviews, what are some of your favorite movies growing up?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll start from the beginning. If you remember, it's a mad, 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 mad world. You remember that one with
that? Yes. Oh my gosh. I think I've seen it 3-4 times already and twice with the boys and they loved it.
Yeah, I think of Milton Berle. I never thought in my life it was going to be Milton Berle. So with that one, when I met Milton Berle in '92, it was really, I felt, when I think back at it, I'm like, wow, I was an idiot. I was like, I saw him, they had the Planet Hard Rock stores. Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, and I forgot who, the Arnold Schwarzenegger. They came in and had like Planet Hollywood that you would see in Vegas, but they were the Hard Rock locations. You can come in, smoke cigars. So he was there promoting George and Gracie Burns for DVD. I mean, not DVDs yet at that point, but VHS release for Universal. They were classic shows that they used to have. Gracie Allen, George Burns, Gracie Allen show. And I see him in the corner, and I'm like thinking, these women are smoking cigars in like a small little room size, and he's eating fruit at the end on the pool table with a bodyguard. I go, how dare these women not go be talking to Milton Berle? And so I went over to talk to him because that was my favorite film at the time. He goes, Milton, I want to interview you. How can I interview you? Oh, just call me at the Friars Club. And I'm like thinking, what's the Friars Club? I didn't know what the Friars Club at that point was. Who knew that George Burns, and a bunch of the comics ended up creating the Friars, which would be roasting celebrities at that one point. And then so from that, I was only the third minority to be inducted to the Beverly Hills Friars Club. Sammy Davis Jr., Whoopi Goldberg were honorary members. If you imagine that.
Wow. Friars Club. Now that is a blast from the past. Dean Martin's Celebrity Roast and all these roasts. Friars Club. Oh my gosh. I think I'm ready to pull out my black and white TV with the rabbit ears and start like Johnny Carson. I'm going to have to do all these wires just to watch Johnny Carson all over again. This is like a flashback. It's amazing.
So this is where all the entertainment people who were members could go and get in. So it was an honor. I just remember, and it was, for me at that point, this is 1992, 93. It was expensive, but it was an honor to be there because I'm like, all the greats have gone through there. And then so George Burns was still, and he just passed away. But all of them, Jim Ross or Jeffrey Ross, he's like the official roaster now. You think of when you see the roast, this was the location where it all started. And then they eventually had the one in New York. The one in New York is the only one that's left now. But when I think of that, that's what led to that. So that movie reminds me of that. I'm meeting Mickey Rooney. I just thought about him like a couple days ago. And then going back to 1973, Enter the Dragon. I saw it at a drive-in. What are most people doing now? They're seeing things at a drive-in because of COVID-19.
I remember the drive-ins, and that was the thing I was proposing to people with all these theaters shutting down. I said, why don't you just turn them into outdoor theaters, or take like the abandoned malls or abandoned office buildings, or say like an abandoned field and put up a screen and just and with the new technology, you don't need the speakers. You can just have it pipe through your stereo system and have drive-ins that way. I thought about that, and I said, makes you want to go to a drive-in, take the family there. What movie to see? I really don't know. I think I'll let you do the picking. So,
but here's the thing about that. This is another issue because movie theaters in Los Angeles and New York are not open. I figured out a way to help some of the theaters, but here's the thing. Ventilation is still not secure in movie theaters.
Really?
It just isn't. So there will be a case where someone comes down and gets sick from going to the movie theaters because guess what? They're open in Georgia, Florida, Chicago now, Texas, Louisiana, but not into the two major markets, number one and number two. What does that tell you, Mike? You know what I mean? That's not good. So they're not making any money. So here's another thing. Disney's not making any money because they got all their Marvel stuff has been pushed to next year. Same thing with Pixar. If it wasn't for ESPN and a good series, docuseries called The Last Dance on Michael Jordan, the 1996 season, 98, that they did. Luckily, they had cameras and they filmed it. What was everybody watching on ESPN because there was no sports? The Last Dance, when Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, and the coach, Phil, were all together. The ratings that they got, that was it because no movies in the theater. The theme parks were closed. There was no China market. That's not good.
Uh-huh. And I remember watching The Last Dance, all 10 episodes, and maybe relive the days where I was newly married and I was out with the guys and I'd have my wife with me and we'd be with friends. We'd be watching the Bulls championship runs. I mean, that was just, I felt like I was reliving those days, although it was like maybe almost 30 years ago. I thought, wow, it's like a flashback right there. Amazing.
But so imagine this, Mike. Imagine if he had never allowed the cameras in. We wouldn't have had this great series, you know what I mean? So think about that. Yellowstone. There's a great series called The Comey Rule, which is on Showtime. Part 2 is today. Excellent series on Showtime on what James Comey did, Clinton emails, what he went through when he wrote his book. Very, very good. Jeff Daniels stars as James Comey. Very, very good series. Glendon Breeson plays President Trump. Very interesting. And then after that, I think of Blazing Saddles. Animal House. Yeah, I'm still in the 70s. You know what I mean? And then you start to get into the 80s. You think of Nightmare on Elm Street, people going to video stores and starting to rental right up until where we are today. Imagine that.
I remember watching Animal House and Blazing Saddles. And of course, one of my favorite movies, since we're in that 70s genre, Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It's those type of comedies. You have to learn to laugh at yourself, because when you laugh at others, you laugh at yourself, you actually appreciate one another. I gotta say that.
Well, with that, you have to throw in Benny Hill for those people who remember that also.
Oh my goodness, Benny Hill, 10 o'clock at night before going to bed, or summertime, you just watch past that after the 10 o'clock news. I mean, the guy was just a genius. I mean, all these geniuses out there. Now it seems like, I hate to say it, that a lot of people are afraid to try something groundbreaking or try something new when it comes to comedy. So I think about this and I said, why can't they make comedy like this anymore? You think about it.
Well, you had mentioned people I interview. So I look at it this way. There's two scenarios now. I call it pre-COVID, and then I call it during COVID Zoom interviews, which is what everybody's doing now. So pre-COVID, I was used to doing one-on-one select interviews. So think of Robin Williams, him walking into the room and to be me and three other people, or me and 7 people. And then, I was there when Russell Crowe was, for the Gladiator. He loved us. He would lock the door because he loved the radio room. He hated print, he hated TV, and then online was coming in. He couldn't stand them because they weren't doing research. And then, I think of George Carlin, I think of Joan Rivers. These are just some of those people. I think of the first time I met Steven Spielberg for Saving Private Ryan. There's a photo of me and Steven, and I'm holding the Saving Private Ryan poster. We're just talking at a luncheon, which was one of I think it was year 3 for the Broadcast Film Critics. Now it's called the Critics' Choice Award Show. And this is all the critics. It's the #1 critic show in the world. But here's the thing. Award shows have changed now. It's not like you can do them. And we may never, for a while, be able to have those one-on-one get-togethers with celebrities ever again.
And of course, it's all done by Zoom too. And I guess there's kind of a good and bad in a sense. Like I said, we did an interview. You would have to come all the way to Bismarck, North Dakota, or I have to come all the way to Las Vegas, meet you halfway, go to California, Hartford, and everything. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword when it comes to a lot of things. It saves on travel, but then it also cuts down on the oneness, or it's like the unique bond of an actual one-on-one. So I can see what you're saying. It's almost like a double-edged sword. There's also a good and a bad. So I guess so we're talking trends and everything here on the Mike Wagner Show with Brian Sebastian, the host of Movie Reviews and More. What are some of the next trends that you see in 2021 and beyond?
Telecommunications, what we're doing right now. Anything that's environmentally friendly, those sustainable products, because there's a lot of great smart tech out of there that people don't know about. Unfortunately, the U.S. has fallen behind in technology. A lot of the great technology is outside the U.S., and I'm getting my hands on a lot of it. I got first dibs to a lot of it because of our numbers. Cleaning supplies are never going to go away. They were never out of fashion to begin with. So I mentioned Ellipto hand sanitizer. I've had it for 5 years. I've had the restroom kit for 4 years. Cleaning things, anything that you have to wipe surfaces down, all of that stuff. Those 3 things: animation, voiceover, like what we're doing. Those things will never go away. And AI tech also.
And of course, you got to have the cartoons as well. You got to have the cartoons. I'm still a big cartoon nut. I miss those Saturday morning cartoons. You're in your PJs, you're having a bowl of Frosted Flakes, and you're watching Bugs Bunny, and you're watching, Underdog and all the cartoons. And when I heard that NBC and all the other networks took out the Saturday morning cartoons for the info programming, I thought, what are you gonna do with a bowl of cereal nowadays in your pajamas?
That's true. What are you gonna do with that?
Right, exactly. You got Cartoon Network, but then they're kind of going in a different direction, and now it's like, where can we find all the classics? And and the question is, how many networks are we going to see now, or how many streaming services are we going to see in the future? I mean, you used to have the big 3 networks. Now it's just like you got millions, and how many more networks are we going to see, and how many more streaming services in 2021?
Well, this is what I tell people. I think it's best to have Hulu, because you can get the add-ons. With Hulu, you can get HBO Max, you can get Amazon now, and then you can get Disney Plus. Because people can't afford to pay for all of these things. You just couldn't. Pre-COVID, you were going to get into money doing that. And then you were talking about Redbox and Vudu before that. Well, Redbox, you can still get some of the latest, but it's slowing down. Because there's no theaters and there's no new releases until next year, well, everything is slowed down. You can still see independent film, but even myself, when I get the links, because I get free links to watch, I don't know if this movie is good or not. And I was like, okay, do I want to take a chance on a movie that I might not like right now? Sometimes I just want to go back and just relive something old. I've never done that before because I never had the time. Now, for the first time in my life, I'm actually doing that, where I watched Terminator 3 for the first time, because I just wanted something just to chill out with that I didn't really have to think about, if that made sense.
Mm-hmm. And of course, with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Hasta la Vista, baby. I still think of that. And I'm trying to think in Terminator 3. I remember where it's like the lady comes up and says, "I like your car," and kills him. I think that might have been the Terminator 3, or could have been somebody else. But it's like, I've watched so many Terminator movies, it's almost like I forget what's what and everything else. Sometimes I forget if I had coffee or not. So,
well, that's the other thing, because they started having so many sequels. Now you've got another reboot of Halloween. You've got another reboot of the Friday the 13th series. How many can you have? When we I remember interviewing Jamie Lee Curtis for the coming back for the Halloween. That was a big thing. And then 4 years later, they bring her back again to do another one. And I'm like, why do you keep going back to this? Just because you get a whole nother audience. It's almost like a Disney film or Disney classics. Every 7 years, you would have a new Bambi come out for all those kids who weren't born at that point. Well, that made sense. So now you've got, okay, which Halloween are you watching? It's on Halloween number 17. So are you talking Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween? Or are you talking the new kids Halloween in in the O's now. It's really bizarre.
Next thing you know, you have Miley Cyrus being on Halloween too, being such a twerk. You never know. But you hit upon Disney as well too. I was going to bring up that fact that Disney's coming out with every remake about 3, 5, 7 years. Now you got the live action, and you also got like the 3D. And it's almost like I guess what's next for Disney, and what's the next adaptation? I mean, are we going to see another Snow White? Are we going to see another you're right, Bambi, Dumbo, or say Jungle Book? It's like, how many times are we going to see remakes of those?
Well, we did have a Dumbo, but no one saw it. That one just came out. I didn't even see that one yet, and I think Robert Downey was in it, if I remember correctly. It was just time bad because of COVID. And then the other thing about that, they have all the rights in their library, so that's why they brought 20th Century Fox, because there is no more Fox Studios now. And the reason why they wanted to do that, because originally the Star Wars brand came from that, but they had Star Wars when George Lucas sold it to them. So Disney's got Pixar, Star Wars, and they got the Marvel series. So what they didn't have is they didn't have Spider-Man. Sony had Spider-Man. So that's why you see them crossing over occasionally to the Sony universe on that, because Sony had that, and the X-Men were Fox. So now they have all of it in their Marvel series.
I see. Okay, so we're trying to figure out the web of what's on Disney, what's not, and everything. And Sony could be on the verge, and what's the next thing Disney could acquire too, since we're on that subject.
Yeah, so they're still paying off for Fox, so they're in debt. Remember, the theme parks aren't open in Disneyland in California yet, only in Florida. Florida's got everything open, which I think is ridiculous because it's still not safe. But again, if you don't have theaters open in New York and Los Angeles, what does that tell you? And I know because I've been talking to the theaters. I've been talking to CEOs. It's still not safe. And Mike, check this out. So out of the 80 people that I asked, only one person would go to the movie theaters. None of us critics would go to the movie theaters. What does that tell you? And we love going to the theaters because that's our getaway.
Exactly, yeah. And then some of the theaters up by us, you have to wear a mask. And I think to myself, what's the point of enjoying a movie if you have to wear a mask? Like, how are you going to eat your popcorn? How are you going to have your drink? Or how are you going to share your candy with your loved ones? And I'm thinking about it's like...
Here's the thing, Mike. What people do in the dark is not the right thing. So when you're in a movie theater for a movie that's 2.5 hours, do you think they're going to be wearing their mask the whole time? The answer is no, they're not going to be. They're going to be yelling because they're scared. They're going to be talking back to the screen like, most African Americans do. They're going to be, I said it because I can say it, but they're going to be, eating their popcorn and throwing things. And then it's everything that you do in the dark without your mask on. And then all of a sudden the lights will go up and then they put the mask on. How is that safe? Remember, it's only going to take one person to come down with COVID in the movie theaters, and then what?
Right, exactly. I can imagine this. We're getting some drinks here. I can imagine something.
You might as well be in an episode of South Park, right?
Yeah. And thanks for the reminder. I'm going to do that here. We're here with the host of Movie Reviews and More, Brian Sebastian, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Just one more thing here. We'd love to have you back on very soon for sure. You've been absolutely fantastic. Gave me some great ideas and inspiration. And you also served as Chief Entertainment Correspondent of the Art of Montique. Did I say that right? Montique?
The Art of Montague.
Montague, that's it. Okay, so tell us more about that venture.
Montague is my partner. And what it is, what we're going through now, well, we saw this coming. We just didn't know the name of it. We see a lot more coming. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And because everything is changing, we still got a stock market crash coming. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. I see it happening within the next 2 months, but I've been calling it since February 16th of 2020. Now, I saw all of this stuff happening. So the Art to Montague and the Dreamweaver Artist Ranch is built on, think of all those people who've lost their homes, whether due to a fire, they can't afford it anymore. So at one point, we were going to have 55 tiny houses. Well, it was only going to cost $500 a month. Out of the 500 acres that we would have on this particular property, which is a Sothersby property, it's valued at a lot. What we want people to come as a community, come and grow your own food on 10 acres that we have. We're only going to use 36 out of the 500. And the reason we're using the other, we want to leave the rest of it pristine, meaning we need trees for one, because think of what's happening in the whole West Coast of the fires. All of those trees and homes have been burned. So a lot of people will are becoming homeless. Where are they going to go, Mike? It takes a while to get, to rebuild a house. Today, vineyards, it's in wine country. They're burning now. That's not good. So our property we have plenty of water, 3 tiers of water. The soil's never been contaminated, no fracking, it's never had a fire on it. So we have good soil. So what you need now, you need clean drinking water. We already have that. And you need good soil to grow good food that's not processed. Because now it's about health. And so we're 1,900 feet above sea level because of Chinese smog, pollution, a virus. It's a Mediterranean type setting. So it's about the climate. So it's like a retreat setting, but it's also for those people who might have lost homes, can't afford it. All they have to do is just pay $500 a month. That's it.
Wow. And how do we get more information?
You go to theartofmontague.com, and then you go to the Dreamweaver Artist Ranch. And we always tell people just donate $5 because a lot of people, that's all they can afford.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's very important too. Once again, Brian Sebastian, producer, radio host, DJ, and promoter, host of the movie reviews and more on the Mike Wagner Show. A very big thank you for your time. You've been great. Just a few more things. And what can we expect from you in 2021 and beyond? What else can we expect from you?
My goal between now and the end of the year is to get to 10 million views a day and counting. We will have 4 million views, 4.5 million views out of Tennessee alone. By April 2nd of 21, the goal is to have 25 million views a day and counting. And then we will have 850 million views a month worldwide.
And that's a very good goal as well, too. We'll make sure everybody checks you out. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Brian?
In general, right now, it would have been my old partner, Bill Margold, my partner, Montague now, my friend Lenny. And it was because of them, they made me a lot smarter. They made me look at things in a different way. And I would always say this, you have to think outside the box. Well, I'm thinking outside the box, but I'm also hovering above the box.
Mm-hmm. I think that's very good as well, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Be able to adjust, be able to adapt to the change, because this is not going away for 5 years, whether you believe it or not. And if you can do those 3 things, you'll make it, because right now your life depends on it. So doesn't your business, if not both.
Mm-hmm. And that's a very good point. Once again, Brian Sebastian, host of movie reviews and more here on the Mike Wagner Show. Brian, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic, very insightful. Looking forward to having you again very soon. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, where can people check you out, and for your gadgets as well.
You can go, I'm on Facebook, Brian Sebastian 169 on Facebook. Our YouTube is Movie Reviews, the letter N more, Movie Reviews and more on that. So it's a picture of me and George Clooney, so I'm easy to find. And then on iTunes 247 out of Franklin, Tennessee, you'll see all that. We have 22 to 33 million viewers on that a month, including the country of Argentina. YouTube is not in Argentina, we are. So we have that whole country. So that's why we get big numbers on that show for movie reviews and more out of that. And then Worldwide TV Network, womanontv.tv. And by October 15th, obviously we'll be on iHeart and everything like that, which you mentioned too.
That is fantastic. Once again, Brian, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely terrific. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. Definitely love to have you back in 2021 and beyond. Stay safe, and let's keep in touch, and please keep me updated. Love to have you back on for sure.
I'll come back anytime, Mike, and I'll bring one of my co-hosts with me too.